I know how to stop this.
The entire boardroom went silent when Daniel Carter walked through the door. Not because he was important, but because everyone in that room had spent 5 years pretending he wasn't. The CEO of Whitmore Financial stood from his chair and looked at the older man wearing a faded Navy maintenance uniform. "Mr. Carter." His voice was different this time, respectful, almost desperate. "We need your help." Daniel looked around the room. 5 years ago, these same people barely noticed him. Now they were looking at him like he was the only person in the world who could save them, and they were right, because the man they had spent years calling just the janitor was the only person who understood the disaster destroying their company. But to understand how this happened, we have to go back 5 years, before they knew his name, before they respected him, before they realized the person they ignored was the person they needed the most. Every morning at exactly 5:30, Daniel Carter walked through the glass doors of Whitmore Tower. While executives were still sleeping in their expensive homes, Daniel was already cleaning their offices. He polished the marble floors. He emptied their trash cans. He quietly fixed the little things nobody noticed. To most people inside the building, Daniel was invisible. Employees walked past him without saying hello. Managers left their coffee cups on his cart. Executives snapped their fingers when they wanted something moved. But Daniel never complained. He simply smiled and said, "Have a good day." Most people ignored him, but one person didn't. Her name was Claire Bennett. Claire was a young executive assistant who always stopped to talk with him. "Good morning, Daniel." And every time, Daniel smiled. "Good morning, Claire." One afternoon, Claire noticed something unusual. During his lunch break, Daniel wasn't watching television. He was reading a complicated business report filled with financial charts and technology information. She looked surprised. "Daniel, do you understand all that?" Daniel slowly closed the folder. "A little." Claire laughed. "A little? Half the executives in this building don't understand those reports." Daniel smiled. Sometimes people forget things they once knew. Claire knew there was something different about him, something hidden, but she respected his silence. Not everyone did. Marcus Reed was one of Whitmore Financial's most successful executives, and he never missed an opportunity to remind Daniel where he thought he belonged. One afternoon, Marcus walked past Daniel while he was cleaning. "You're still here?" Daniel looked up. "Yes, sir." Marcus shook his head. "I don't know why they keep people like you around." Daniel stayed quiet. Marcus continued. "This company needs smart people, people who actually understand how things work." Daniel looked at him calmly. "Everyone has something valuable to offer." Marcus laughed. "That's something people say when they don't have anything valuable." Then he walked away. Daniel watched him leave and quietly continued cleaning, because Marcus had no idea who he was talking to. Years earlier, Daniel Carter was not a janitor. He was a man companies called when impossible problems needed solutions. He was the founder of Carter Cyber Solutions, a company responsible for protecting some of the biggest financial institutions in the country. His technology protected billions of dollars. Executives once waited weeks just to speak with him, but after losing the person he loved most, Daniel walked away from everything. The money, the fame, the pressure. He chose a quiet life, a simple life, a life where nobody cared about his achievements. And for 5 years, that was exactly what he wanted. Until the morning everything changed. At 8:17 a.m., every computer inside Whitmore Financial suddenly went dark. Employees couldn't access files. Customer accounts froze. Private information became locked away. The entire company stopped. Panic spread through the building. The CEO, Ethan Whitmore, rushed into the emergency meeting. What happened? The technology team had no answers. "We're still investigating." How long? Nobody responded, because everyone knew the truth. They were losing control. Millions of dollars were at risk. Clients were angry. The company was facing disaster. Then Daniel walked past the conference room. He stopped. The screens caught his attention. He stared at the information for a few seconds. Then he quietly said, "The attack didn't start today." Everyone turned. Marcus immediately recognized him. "Daniel, this isn't the time." But Daniel didn't move. "The problem isn't what happened today." He looked at the screens. "The problem started months ago." The room became silent. The CEO stared at him. "How would you know that?" Daniel took a deep breath. For 5 years he had hidden his past, but now people were losing everything. So he stepped forward. The reason I know is because I designed this system. Nobody spoke. Marcus laughed. That's impossible. Daniel reached into his pocket. He pulled out an old identification card. The room froze. The name on the card read, Daniel Carter, founder of Carter Cyber Solutions, a company that built the very technology protecting Whitmore Financial. The janitor they ignored was the person who created the system they depended on. For the next 6 hours, Daniel worked, not as a cleaner, not as someone people overlooked, but as the expert he had always been. He traced the attack, found the weakness, rebuilt the system, and saved the company. But then he discovered something worse. The attack came from inside the company. Someone working there had betrayed them, and the evidence pointed directly toward Marcus Reed, the same man who had spent years disrespecting him. Marcus looked at Daniel. You knew? Daniel looked back. I noticed the signs months ago. Then why didn't you tell anyone? Daniel was silent for a moment. Then he answered, because nobody ever asked what I thought. Those words hit harder than any accusation, because they were true. After everything was over, the CEO approached Daniel. I want you to return to this company. Daniel smiled. As what? Chief Technology Officer. Daniel shook his head. I appreciate the offer, but I don't need a bigger office to know my value. He looked around the building. For 5 years, people judged me by my uniform, but a person's worth was never inside their clothing. Months later, Whitmore Financial changed. Employees started seeing people differently. Managers started listening, and Daniel continued working, not because he had to, because he wanted to. One morning, a new employee saw him cleaning the lobby. She smiled. Good morning, Mr. Carter. Another worker looked confused. You know the janitor? She smiled. Everyone should know him, because the truth is, the world is full of people we overlook, people with stories we never hear, people with talents we never discover. Never judge someone's value by their job title. Never assume you know someone's story, because sometimes the person everyone ignores is the person everyone needs.